releasing after DSTV, after the exhibition on DSTV, we were releasing I think an hour after. People were actually waiting for that. And the guys on YouTube were actually having a go at the guys who watch it on DSTV. Don't come and spoil it for us here. Don't come and... So it became a community, and we joined that community. And sometimes we messed up. I personally went on YouTube to respond to some of the... I won't do it again. So, but because those internet children there. But so it worked for us, and we grew those numbers. We made money on YouTube. It's in dollars, but I have to out these people. But I have to split it down the middle with the license. That's too, so I'm not rich.
Amazing. That was super powerful, and yes, I think leveraging social media really worked out in the end. Jennifer, I'm going to get back to you. So when James was talking about how important it is for us to get cultural connotations, you know, and he made an example about Idris Alba, for example, you know, speaking Igbo, and of course, no matter how much he's trained, he might not come off as authentic as possible. What are your thoughts on that, the African storytellers? How important is it for Africans to tell our stories and just, you know, make it appeal into the global market?
I think it's really important, right? You want to make sure that we are reflected appropriately in the ecosystem, right? The whole point of your business is making sure you're touching on the different tribes that people aren't even aware of. So you want to make sure that you're giving it justice. And I know there's been like a lot of conversation about like why Idris Elba, they can't find a Nigerian who can do this, right? And the question is, who's the Nigerian who's going to do it that the financiers are going to pay for? Because at the end of the day, it's about viewership, right? If you're going to get a studio movie, you have to have a good piece of talent that wants to do it. And who's stepping up to the plate? There's only but so many pieces of talent that are Nigerian that would say, okay. And I know people have their feelings about like David Oyelowo being a producer on it. But David Oyelowo is Igbo. His mother is Igbo, his father is Yoruba. So that's another component that people aren't aware of. They just all, you know, it's where your father's from, is where you stick to. But he loved his mother very much. And he was very in with his Igbo culture, and that is one of the massive components that we have discussed. And we have sat down and said, we have to make sure that we do Igbo right. I don't know if, I'm sure everyone in this room has watched Black Panther. I don't know if anybody felt, Igbo people in the room, when Winston Duke first spoke in Black Panther. I remember being in that theater, I said, he's an Igbo boy. Like I had to start Googling in my seat, like, his accent was so spot on. Like, he's not speaking Igbo, this is not any language, but for some reason I feel him. And then we started to represent him, and we had a conversation. He said, no, I specifically had a dialect coach that taught me Igbo accents. And that's why in the big like war one, where all of the different Marvel people came together, there was that chant that was Igbo Nkwe, Igbo Nkwe, and he actually put that into the script. They had a different chant, and he said, no, I've been studying this, even though I'm not Igbo, even though this character is not Igbo, but that's what I have positioned myself to represent. They have a chant that says, Igbo Kwen.
Igbo Kwen.
So he said, I want to make sure that I do the justice. And no, we're not going to say this chant that they wrote in the script. Let's do Igbo Kwen. So it's as close to the culture as possible. And for Things Fall Apart, that is a very on top of conversation that we are having consistently, and that Idris has vocalized and says, I understand the weight that's on me, because it's not just Igbo culture, it's the author as well. This is a heavy book that's been in history, not just in Africa. This is in school when I was growing up, in a predominantly white private school in Los Angeles. So he understands like the heaviness of this, and they want to make sure that, you know, they give it that justice and they give that authenticity, and he's willing to do the work. And,
okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask a very direct question, because I mean, our Nigerian-born, our actors over there of Nigerian descent are doing a great job. I mean, you mentioned a couple of them. But why is it that we cannot source actors from Nollywood, from Nollywood, like take a Kunle Remy to do a Hollywood film? So what are the obvious challenges? So we'll see where we can start fixing it from.
So the obvious challenge is that you're dealing with a market that is not the market of where this person resides. You talk about an RMD, that's somebody that I represent. So for Richard, it's him coming to the US. We know him on the continent, and we know he is the Denzel Washington of the entire continent, not just Nigeria. But on the West, they're not familiar with him. Not everybody knows him. Now my mom, my friend, like people know him, and people have been tapping into, especially after the Black Book, the amount of calls like, hey, he's not the guy you've been pitching and you've been talking about, but they're not familiar. So you have to familiarize those people. And at the end of the day, it's a business, right? The same way when you have the ink blots and the Moabudus, and they're thinking about their casting. Who are they going to? They gotta go to who they know there's gonna be an audience that's gonna follow them. So the same thing for the West. That's the challenges. We have to, as I mentioned before, bringing that data that says, yes, we understand that you might not know them, but the world actually knows them, and your market actually knows them. People in the US, they over-index from 25 to 65, or to 105, depending on the job. Anyways, but that's the component of it. It's not that they don't want them, it's just you have to educate them, and that's why representation is a really good component of that. And we've been having really great conversations and opportunities that have come to people that are from the continent and bridging that gap to the West because of the amount of data that we bring and the articulation of who these individuals are and why they are a good investment. Because at the end of the day, it's a business.
All right, a round of applause. Okay, so I think we've moved from the challenges and we're now talking about the solutions. I think you just gave us one solution. So a couple of issues have been raised, issues of funding, issues of production hazards, etc., etc. So let's just quickly provide solutions for these other issues. So who wants to take the funding issue? How can we make more money? Victor, want to take it? Okay.
So I think the biggest solution is really impact investment. And what do I mean by that? Making films and being in this industry is already hard enough. We need a safety net. So for instance, if I'm doing a show, something happens, and my delivery doesn't meet the channels, or I don't do certain things, or there's an incident that happens and I need to spend more money, we need to have people who are able, and we're building an industry, we need to have people who will be able to say, look, we can commit our money to this. It's difficult just going to get money from any investor. She's been through that to say, listen, I want to make a film. How many houses do you have? Which house are you bringing first? Have you made film before? Oh, we don't trust you. Do you understand my point? My very first big show was given to me because somebody looked at me and said, I believe in you. It's a big risk to take. Do you understand? But how many people can say, I'm willing to give you X amount, make the movie. Yeah, if it doesn't make some money, we'll see what we can do to do what we can to sell it in XYZ and XYZ places. And that's why we need impact investment. Impact investment is not just in making the films, it's in the distribution platforms. And I say this all the time. Victor's my guy, Prime is gone. Netflix, one day, will say, we don't want. It's like, going to Netflix is like passing a camel through the needle's eye. Everybody wants their film on Netflix. Everybody's coming to Victor every Ike Market Day to sponsor a show. We can't work with everybody. So, but those who have the talents, where else can we put our stuff on? Some people might not have that audience on YouTube. How about terrestrial TV? How about a new TV station? How about, we just need to invest more in an ecosystem and a structure so that when I make a film, if I don't want to put it on Netflix, I can put it on gogotv.com, right? And for us to get to that space, we need a lot of people who understand how we work, how the industry works here, to say we're willing to put our money as a safety net, and we don't have that.
All right. Honestly, please a round of applause. When we started this session, I said that the time allotted is very small because the panel is heavy, We just needed just about two of them to exhaust the 1 hour, but thank you so much, we appreciate it. We're going to open the questions for the floor now. I know we have lots and lots of questions. We'll take, how many questions am I allowed to take? 4. Is it 3 or 4? Okay, 4 questions. All right, 4 questions. So let's try and distribute it evenly. So we'll take yours, Jennifer Mario. That's Jennifer Mario, by the way. Shout out to you.
Thank you, sweetheart. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you guys for all of that. I have so many questions. I wrote them down, but I'll just do one. Yeah, he's already looking at me, so let me do my one, and I'll try to snatch you guys out later. Okay. If funding were not an issue, say my dad is Babangida or Tedola, and I have the money, which I don't, right? Now I've made this film. How do I access? We've heard about the Netflix, the Amazon, all that fancy stuff. Mr. Victor, what is like? You were talking about maybe you guys would adopt the Hollywood style of saying, okay, you know, now from this day to this day, when I will collect. You know, you were saying that. Why do I need a connection? Why do I need to be friends with Hero before I can get to you and to show you my film and for you to, even if you're going to say no to me? What is the hustle? Why are filmmakers having to struggle so hard to be able to get access to, you know, why can't I go on multi-choice websites and something say, submit your film here, upload it here, do this here? The hustle is too much after we've done all these films and we don't know how to put it out there. Thank you.
And the potential of a potential PR disaster, because I'm not politically correct. You might have been fed some wrong information. And I'm looking forward to talking to you after because I need names of who told you that crap. No, I'm just playing. Let me tell you what I mean. Because when you said you were like, oh, why is there all this hustle? I'm like, that's what I'm saying. You were fed some information that is not exactly accurate. If the question is how do you get a meeting on the concept of a multi-choice on, oh, I want a licensed film or I want to, it's pretty straightforward. You spoke about the website, there is a website. There is a website for submissions, for pitches, in terms of for commission content. If you've already shot your content and you would like licensing, there is a platform for that. There are media buyers who are quite plugged into the industry in terms of you want to do licensed content. But in the interest of not taking up all this time on that, I will simply say, number 4, industrial streets, Ilubeju, show up. That's all it really takes. Now, there might be a time where multi-choice seemed very insular, because I supply multi-choice work for 15 years. So yes, there was a time when it was very insular. Those days are gone. If you can't find a website or the 4 industrial streets, Ilubeju, you don't need to know anybody. I hope I was as direct as I can be in the time that I have.
All right, let's take another question. Over there, yes, the man in white. Yeah, you introduce yourself.
Hello everyone, my name is Mishopol Washino. I'm a producer and I have 2 questions, the quick questions, no, just the 2, fine. So the first one is for the legend, Mr. Aki. Would you say you're actually broke even with moving to distribute The Voice on YouTube?
No, very simple.
So how are you able to handle that with investors?
So could you repeat the question?
How are you able to handle that with investors, your executives?
Oh, I am, okay, so sorry, I'm my own investor. So I said earlier on I lost a lot of money. But I wouldn't say I lost. James was speaking about impact investment. So my returns were not measured just in money. My returns were measured in what we could do as the production values we brought on the screen. And I had people measure that for me. So will I do it again? Yes. But we will do it wiser now. So what we did, like you were saying earlier on, Jennifer, there are quite a few people interested in putting money in Africa and in Nigeria. And they are looking. So if we have the metrics right, we have the right contracts, and we keep the right production values, people will come in. I mean, things fall apart. Somebody's coming in to do it anyway. So I think that is still possible. Yeah, I can't say that here. I hope I answered the question. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Right, so let's have him.
Good afternoon, everyone. My question is just generally pushed towards genre fatigue in general. So, as a producer, one of the things you have to account for is making maybe a TV show that people want to see. And when you have a society where like genres are shifting every day, one day comedies are here and then they're gone, then the next thing you have drama and then they're gone. And obviously we know that producing a show takes a long time. It could take years before you can have a show that's coming out. So the question I want to ask is genre fatigue a thing you have a fear for when you're producing a show? Like by the time you're releasing it, it's like oversaturated in the industry and then people might not be like interested in seeing that genre anymore. And if so, how do you anticipate for that? Thank you.
Uche, do you want to take that?
I don't think that's a weird question because anywhere in the world, genres exist. Various genres exist. Like I know James likes to watch epic and all that stuff. I won't watch it if you pay me to watch it. Sorry, I watch a show, you know. So the thing is that you always have an audience. Some people will say, "Oh, you can't watch." Victor is always saying, "Oh, you can't watch three girls. You can't watch three girls in Lagos looking for love." I would watch three girls in Lagos looking for love. So what it is that it can never be oversaturated. What is oversaturated is the fact that everybody runs to make a specific genre because James has done epic now. I want to do epic. She's made money from YouTube because of, with financial literacy. I'll now change it to something else. I'll join them again. That's the problem. Key thing is you have to have focus. What do I want to do? I'm going to stick to it and I'm going to do it well. That is it. I go to Victor, he chases me out sometimes. Lucha, your story is not compelling enough. Why are you doing this? Who is the compelling character? Blah, 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 blah. I go back to him again, the same kind of story, rearrange it a certain way, and he gives me some sense to say, okay, you know what, you can do it like this, you can do it like that. You cannot stick to a specific genre because everybody is doing it, and that is why we have a problem. We need various genres to succeed, to be successful in this industry. Thank you.
I agree. And James, by the way, everybody's doing epic now. That's every streamer's original now is let's go to the village and carry knife. All right, the final question. Anybody from the back? Yes, the man at the back. I'm so sorry. You're very fine. I'm supposed to give you.
Right. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Lanre Olukono, a filmmaker. My question is for Mr. Akinsalami. You spoke in the previous session. You spoke about content strategy, and now you talk about how you sort of maneuvered your way through the challenges that came with putting your show on YouTube and things like that. I want to ask how content strategy would have helped you now. Knowing what you know, if you are coming up with another show, what strategies would you deploy in your content that would sort of give you a better leverage?
Okay, it's a really wide question, but just to focus on when I got into The Voice, I wasn't thinking of YouTube. So I learned from the first season that we should have thought of it as part of our strategy. And when I said content strategy in the last session, the real phrase should have been distribution strategy. Yeah, and it's how am I going to release this? Who, and I think somebody alluded to it earlier on, who is watching what I am producing? Yeah, how are they watching it? So generally you go from the smallest audience to the largest audience. YouTube generally is the largest audience because of Netflix is slightly restricted. So that's what I was referring to. I don't know if that still answers your question. Thank you. You're welcome.
All right, I know we still have many questions. I'll just help you beg our panelists not to quickly run away, so you can meet them personally. I know a lot of you want to meet them, so even if it's just 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you know, just hang around a little bit so that you can indulge our people. And on behalf of Afriff, we'd like to thank you so much for such a wonderful session. Please, can we give them a resounding round of applause? Thank you very much, thank you very much, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Please stand for photographs. Please, the next session starts in 15 minutes.